Senior Kangaroo always ends, as far as I'm aware, with sort of a cryptic cross number. We have to use the clues together to be able to solve it. And we've got to find a starting point, okay? You can't be starting, obviously with three across or anything like that, or even one across. There's not much, is there? But actually, the starting point in this case is going to be one down, the sum of two different sixth powers, because there's not because it's only two digits and there's not many sixth powers that are less than 100. In fact, there's only two of them. So that must be the two that we add together. 1 to the 6 is just 1, and 2 to the 6, well, actually, that's the same as 4 to the 3, 64. Okay, 3 to the 6 is going to go beyond 100. We can immediately see that. I mean, 3 to the 4 is 81, for example. You times by 3 again, but 3 to the 5 is bigger than 100. Okay, so actually that's great because that tells us that the sum of two different six powers, it has to be 65, and we're off. Right, next up. Now there are a few primes that start with a 6. Actually, there's only two. So 61 is 1, 63 is not. It's 7 times 9, 65 divisible by 5, 67 is okay, 69 divisible by 3. So it's got to be one of those. Um, and I tried really hard to do this without having to just put one in, but at the end of the day, we're going to have to go for it. But before we do that, let's do a little bit more groundwork because 5 across says shares a two-digit common factor with 1 down. Okay, now 65 is actually 13 times 5, and they're both primes, so the two-digit common factor has to be 13. Okay, so actually that means it's got to be a multiple of 13. So for 5 across, it's going to be 13 or 26 or 39, 52, 65, um, 78 or 91. Okay, that's the only possibility. So I'm going to now take a look at 2 down. Okay, but we can't really avoid it. We're going to have to go with one of these. So I'm going to go with 61. Let's just see if that works. So I want to find a number that's 101 less than a square number, and it's going to end with a number that one of these starts by. Okay, that's the aim, really. All right, 101 less than a square number. So we're going to have to go. So 15 times 15 is 225. Actually, 14 times 14 is 196. If I do 101 less than that, it will give me a two-digit number. That's not going to work. Now I'm going to take my 225 and minus 101. So that will give me 124. I'm just going to do this until I find all the numbers that start with a 1 that are 101 less than a square number. So I've added on 29 here. One thing to be aware of when you go up in your square numbers is you just add an extra. So we're adding 3, then we're adding 5. We just add an extra 2 every time. So we can work them out quite quickly. So now I'm going to add 31, get 256. That's 16 squared. I'll minus 101 as I go. 155, add 33, 289. That's 17 squared. Gives me 188. If I add on something more, then that will be too big. Okay, so it's got to be one of these. Now, 124, it can't be that because 5 across can't start with a 4. So I can rule that one out. 188, it can't start with an 8 either, so I can rule that one out. So if this is going to work, it's going to have to be, and by the way, I don't know that yet. I'm just trying out 61. It's going to have to be 155 here, which would then mean that this one's 52. Okay, the only one I've not then checked, what I want to check is the sum of all the digits in the cross number once correctly completed. So let's add up the ones we've got. I've got 15 from here, and then I can add 6, 21, 22, 23, 24. So there's no way that this can be a 2 or a 3. Actually, it fails. This I can't possibly answer 4 correctly. 61 wasn't the correct thing to do, okay? But we didn't know that, and we need to test it, but Right, we need to go again, basically. So I've got my 65 for sure. It's gotta be 67. Okay, if this is gonna work, I'm gonna actually tick that clue now, unless I've made a mistake, and I'm trusting that I haven't. Let's go for it. So we can still use the 1326. This is still going to be useful, but now I need to write down my 101 less than a square numbers that start with a 7. All right, so I decided, okay, I got 625. That's one that I knew, 25 squared. Okay, that's too small, but it's at least a starting point. Um, Now, how do I know what to add on here? Well, I could do 26 times 26. It's actually quite a nice way of working out what it goes up by, though, because n plus 1 squared is actually n squared plus 2n plus 1. So here I've got 25 squared. So if I want to know what 26 squared is, then I'm just going to do 25 squared, 625, and add on two lots of 25, 50, 51. And I can see what I'm now adding on. 51 is what I'm going with. So that's going to give me 676. Okay, again, these are too small to be, because I need to minus 101, but at least it's given me a starting point, and I just kind of carried on from there. I could have started larger potentially. So then we get 729, that's 27 squared. Still too small. Plus 55. There's going to be less of these because we're going up by larger amounts. 784. Actually, still too small. Okay, but this next one's going to be okay. Plus 57. That ends up being 841. So if I minus 101, I've got, 740. We are told at the start that it can't end in a zero, I think a non-zero digit. So immediately I can rule that one out. I'm going to add on 59. That gives me 900, which gives me 799. Just about made it in. It starts with a 7. If it's going to work, it's got to be that one. 799. Okay, great. It must be 91 if that's going to work. Ooh, finally, the sum of all the digits once correctly completed, including this one, so we can figure out what it is. I can do 9 plus 1 to give me 10. And then I'll add the 6 and the 5, so I'm up to 21, then 30, 37. So if I put a 4 in to give me 41, and I add the 4 to the 37, I get 41. That must be the answer. Okay, pretty happy with that. So finally, the answer to this kangaroo question is 3 across is 594. Lovely end to this kangaroo. Very well done.